Hello, everyone. My name is Laura, and this is my colleague Marta. And today we are going to present to you our work that we did together with Professor Marijana Tomić on providing access and enhancing research of digitized glagolitic material of Zadar County through GlagoLab portal. So the aim of our work was to investigate theoretical approaches about enhancing access to cultural collections in order to analyze and propose some searching and browsing strategies for collection of Zadar glagolitics. And there are three phases of our research, but today we are going to present you the first phase, which was to present the theoretical framework about providing and enhancing access to cultural collections with the aim of researching different ways of searching and viewing digital collections that could be applied on our GlagoLab portal, where digital copies of glagolitic manuscripts are available. Second phase will be focused on expert and general public and their preferences for searching and browsing digital collections. And third phase are further interface research regarding display options for our GlagoLab portal. So for the purposes of conducting the first phase, we did the analysis of digital collection interfaces through literature review. We analyzed some of the project interfaces from the European Association for Digital Humanities webpage, and we also analyzed some searching and browsing strategies that our GlagoLab portal has. So decades of digitization have made a wealth of cultural material available on the internet. The digitization of cultural heritage preserved by GLAM institution has created many digital archives, most of which are accessible to experts, but also to the general public via the web. And in theory, such archives should improve access to our cultural heritage. However, sometimes that is not the case, and it has been shown that the visitors to digital archives give up searching and browsing very soon after they enter the first page of some digital archives. The search interface is actually still a dominant way of searching for digital materials. The system most often offer search based on keywords, and keyword searches are not generous because they require querying, discourage exploration, and withhold more than they actually provide. But the level of knowledge of expertise varies significantly from visitor to visitor, and it should be taken into account when building a digital archive. So a searchable interface requires querying and retains information, but users should actually be aware of materials that exist and that we had in our digital archives, because what cannot be seen, they cannot even search for. Interfaces should have a role of providing an environment for random discovery, and most current interfaces limit the potential of this. Current research show that scholars in the humanities do not typically use advanced search techniques, but use more research strategies, including chaining, which is following links through the literature, and browsing techniques. And Whitelaw emphasizes that the model of interface and interaction in the field of digital humanities should actually encourage exploration and interpretation, not just searching and finding information. So how did we come to be trapped in the search box then? And do the limitations of search indicate richer alternatives? Hallmark emphasizes the need for alternative systems that enable discovery and exploration of digital collections. And when we talk about alternatives, the first alternative that he mentions are exploratory search interfaces, which are generally designed to provide the user with guidance as to which keyword will produce search results and to help them narrow down their search. And one of the example of exploratory search interface is faceted search. And the advantage of faceted search is that it shows the user a choice of the most common values, and non-expert users can actually learn what search terms will lead to results. When we talk about alternatives, there is also a browsing. The model of browsing offers richer, more complex model of experience, interaction, and interpretation. Whitelaw emphasized that browsing is actually an iterative process that entails scanning or glimpsing a field of potential resources. And there are two important requirements when developing browsing interfaces. They need to provide an initial overview of the whole collection, and they must support the user in exploring the collection, gradually building up a more detailed understanding of content. When we talk about some browsing examples, there are two types of informative browsing interfaces: rich prospect browsing and generous interfaces. The guiding principle of rich prospect browsing is first overview, then a zoom, and finally details on request. When we talk about rich prospect browsing, according to it, users should have a meaningful view of each item in the collection, and they should be able to manipulate this view to explore the collection. Here we put one of the example of rich prospect browsing, which is actually interface of New York Public Library. The home screen actually shows a grid with a small thumbnail of each item in the collection, and the images can be organized by time, by genre, and by color and collection. The big question raised here is whether these tiny thumbnails of each item in the collection actually represent and give a meaningful representation of individual item, because it's very hard to see what are those items when you see these thumbnails. But when you click on it, you can see actually the full size of a specific item, the metadata description, and also all the other items that are included in this collection, which is very useful for users to browse all the other items that collection contains.
So the second example of browsing are generous interfaces that give initial insight and overview of the collection. On the home screen, you have a sample that is drawn from the collection and not all the items as it was in rich prospect browsing. This sample provides a starting point for the user and helps him to explore the collection. So why are generous interfaces generous? We are going back to this user that my colleague was mentioned. We want him to or her to stay on the web page, not to run away. So we just show him what we have. We don't ask him any kind of questions. We provide him with rich overviews, samples, and context using high quality content. So the example of generous interface is Australian prints and printmaking, which is most often mentioned in literature. As you can see, it has a different kind of exploratory interfaces embedded in the web page. It is a combination of generous interface and rich prospect browsing. Generous interface because it offers different options for browsing, such as timelines and word clouds, and rich prospect browsing because it offers grids. It contains over 40,000 works by 4,000 artists. I'm showing you exploratory interface of Subject Explorer. On the left, you can see the subjects where user can pick one, and then it gets he or she gets works that are related with this subject. Also, there is a timeline up there that puts all these works in some time space, and also related artists and media and print types with this work. The second exploratory interface is artist timeline. The interface gives opportunity for a user to type the term in the search box if he knows what he's looking for. But also the system gives a random artist, and then a user can pick one name, and then he gets or she gets general information about the artist and his works on this timeline. Next, I'm going to talk about visualization methods, which are often used on generous interfaces. Those are timelines, spatial displays, network diagrams, and word clouds. Timelines are simplest solutions for mapping time to space in a one-dimensional fashion. Then we have spatial displays that visualize spatial data in two-dimensional and three-dimensional fashions. And now we have also network diagrams, which are non-temporal visualization. It is often combined with other visualizations. And last, we have word clouds or tag clouds, which are prominent method of visualization to represent metadata aspects of the collection. Now I'm going to show you a few examples of each visualization method. All the examples are taken from the webpage of European Association of Digital Humanities. First is Timelines, History 503 Ancient Rome, which is a student project on Ancient Rome class at San Diego State University. So history professor in collaboration with Digital Humanities librarian came up to idea to use Timeline.js, which is open source tool that enables anyone to build visually rich interactive timelines. And the idea was for the students of Ancient Rome class to use this open source tool so they can see if it's going to be useful for them in their future work, and to see all the aspects of visualizations on timelines using external media from YouTube or Flickr and so on. For spatial displays, we chosen Icelandic saga maps. It is about a book of Icelandic sagas and some travel diaries from 19th centuries. The users are able to search of sagas and diaries through linear chronological reading, so they can choose a saga and then read the chapter, or they can use the map, which is non-linear spatial reading, choose the place on the map, and then they get the saga from this place. Further on, we have the example of network diagrams, which is histograph. That is a collection of 3,000 images of the main events and actors of European history. We have an interface, and then we access the historical sources. This network diagram was developed by interdisciplinary collaboration of different kinds of scientists, computer scientists, historians, human-computer interaction researchers, and so on, which is the most important thing when we do some kind of a project. We need to have different kind of experts involved in the creating of those projects. And this is how it looks. So we have a force-directed graph layout that places frequent co-occurring nodes closer together, and those that are not occurring so often are further apart. And the last example is a word cloud or tag cloud. The project is called Victorian Illustrated Shakespeare's Archive. It is an online open resource that contains over 3,000 illustrations taken from the 4 major editions of Shakespeare's work. It was done by a PhD student. He single-handed 4 hard copies of Shakespeare's work. He used the Photoshop to isolate all the illustrations from those hard copies. And then he tagged each image, giving each image metadata description. This is how it looks. The main page contains the words, so the word cloud. And when you click on the word, you get the grid of the images contained in that kind of subject. So I chose animals. Here you see the grid. When you pick the one image, you get the full image with metadata description, where it is, which hard copy it is, and that's it.
Okay, so based on all the theoretical settings and the analysis of all those projects, we actually wanted to see if our GlagoLab portal correspond to the settings of generous interfaces. So GlagoLab is a portal of Center for Research in Glagolitic at the University of Zadar, and it is also a digital laboratory for collaborative research and promotion of the Croatian Glagolitic script. So when you enter our GlagoLab portal, there is a search box that is available immediately, which according to the literature may be a useful option for experts and the people who knows what they are searching for, but not so much for the general public who actually see this portal for the first time. When you scroll down, there are two catalogs that are available, catalog of manuscripts and catalog of watermarks. These are the interfaces of both catalogs. So you can see that both of the catalogs have the option of faceted search, which is actually an exploratory search interfaces. They also have the metadata search option, which maybe isn't the happiest solution for those who don't know what they're searching for, especially for those who don't know what the term metadata actually is. But there is also a grid option, so they can view our material according to the grid, which looks like this. So the grid shows a thumbnail of each item in both collections, which is similar to the New York Public Library one, but the pictures are actually much bigger. And when you click on each picture, you get the metadata description, and there is also an option of viewing the whole manuscript or watermark. In addition to those catalogs, we also enabled a thesaurus in hand search. So we actually translated a thesaurus from the Bernstein, the Memory of Paper project, and the thesaurus actually defined the terms which are used for the motifs that our watermark contains. And each of that of motifs has its own icon, and when you click on some icon, you get all the watermarks that contain that motif, and when you click on one, you also get the metadata description and the manuscript that contains that watermark. So based on all of this and according to all the display options we analyzed, we asked the question, is GlagoLab actually missing something? What we concluded is that it definitely misses the more generous interface or some of its segments. Like the home screen should actually show a sample, which can be a good starting point and some kind of clue to help user to explore the collection more. Secondly, the interface should show first and not ask the user to write terms, because some of the users would not know that. And definitely the third is visualizations. Since we have the standardized metadata, the thesaurus terms, it would be easy for us to actually include timelines, spatial diagrams, and word clouds that would make it easier for some user or general public to actually browse our collection. So how to create that kind of interface? Well, the answer is definitely through collaboration of information scientists, experts from humanities field, interface designers and computer scientists, and of course, general public. We need to ask them what do they want to see on our portal. And because of that, the second phase is going to be conducted right now. We are going to ask experts and general public about their preferences for searching and browsing in order to see how we can make the GlagoLab portal even more generous than it is now. That is all. Thank you for your attention.